And away we go. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Wherever you happen to be in the world today, welcome one and all to Coffee Talk. It is time once again for Coffee Talk Live, where we will be having some discussion about what is going on in the world today, taking a look at some clips from the news, and having some dialogue with those of you who are able to join us for the live portion. And of course, you can find the live portion Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Coffee Talk and on Prepper University on YouTube at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University. You can also find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat and fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta Monday through Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Friday at noon. As we go ahead and say hello to some of the people that have been able to join us here so far in the live portion, I see Helter is here, Ragnar, Dragon, and Dilo, who says thumbs up. Yes, I'll take all the thumbs up I can get. The channel is very, very oppressed. I actually had to talk about that at length again yesterday, unfortunately, because I got into a lot of trouble this week with the powers that be. And it's just the unfortunate reality of how this all works. Joined today by two felines in the room, little girl sleeping in the chair behind me, and over here where you can't see, laying on top of the printer, is Miss Kitty, also taking a nap, being comfortable right now. Maybe some more will come in and maybe not. There's plenty of them wandering around in here. We actually have 7 inside the house. 7 inside the house, and the rest are in the outside in those shelters. Oh, there's Miss Kitty. Now you can see her. Hello, darling. For those of you who can see. But we'll go ahead and we'll start jumping off into what's going on in the world. And this is the huge news of the day. We're going to go to a Reuters article. A Reuters article. You may have heard about this, or you may be screwed over because of this, actually, right now. And Brian is here. Glad you could make it, Brian. Global cyber outage grounds flights, hits media, financial, and telecoms. That's right. There was a massive glitch across IT globally. It shut down airports, it shut down airlines, it shut down banks. It was a disaster. So major U.S. airlines issued ground stops on Friday, citing communication issues, while other carriers, media companies, banks, and telecoms firms around the world also have reported system outages were disrupting their operations. American Airlines, Delta Airlines, United Airlines, and Allegiant Air grounded flights less than an hour after Microsoft said it resolved its cloud service outage that impacted several low-cost carriers. It was more than that. This article is a little older. It was not immediately clear whether the call to keep flights from taking off were related to an earlier Microsoft cloud outage. In Australia, media, banks, and telecoms companies suffered outages, which the government said appears to be linked to an issue at global cybersecurity from CrowdStrike. Australia had to call an emergency meeting. The government called an emergency meeting because practically the whole country was disrupted. CrowdStrike ran a records phone message on Friday when Reuters contacted its technical support, saying it was aware of reports of crashes on Microsoft's Windows operating systems relating to its Falcon sensor without mentioning Australia. There was no information to suggest the outage was a cybersecurity incident. The Office of Australia's National Cybersecurity Coordinator, Michelle McGuinness, said in a post on X. The outages rippled far and wide, with Spain reporting computer incidences at its airports. Ryanair, Europe's largest airline by passenger numbers, warned passengers of potential disruptions, which it said would affect all airlines operating across the network, although it was not specific. AWS cloud service provider said in a statement it was investigating reports of connectivity issues to Windows EC2 instances and workspaces with AWS. Also, it is places in Europe, particularly where it's relatively cashless, they were shut down. You couldn't buy anything. Nothing in the stores were working. People were not able to shop because it affected banks. And what I understand now, and it's not mentioned in this article, is that apparently an update from the company is what caused the problem. Some error in the update from CrowdStrike and Microsoft, their update. You know how like every time Microsoft just decides to update your computer and then stuff doesn't work right afterwards? Only this time it affected the entire planet. Here, there, and everywhere. And Dawn is here and wants everyone to remember thumbs up, like, and share. And Sven says getting impacted all carriers. The radar signatures dropped to near zero except for military. And this is what happens when everybody's on the same damn system. You didn't have these kind of problems in the 70s and 80s. Hell, not even in the 90s. Everybody operated their own independent system. They did not outsource. And everybody wasn't all on the same platforms. Dragon says our dependence on easily corrupted and vulnerable software will one day doom us. Exactly. Exactly. And where I'm going with that. We didn't have these kind of problems. Yeah, you had to do more work. It might have been more complicated. But this sort of thing didn't occur. So a software update, and whose brilliant idea was it to run a software update across multiple platforms at once instead of doing it in sections, just in case there was a problem? Isn't that typical? No, apparently not. Helter says Skynet's about to take over. A lot of people don't know what to do without the internet. Yeah, I mean, can you imagine your average, like, 12-year-old nowadays in the Western world can't use their phone? Don't have something to stare at all day? Again, this makes me think of the feed more so than like Skynet or anything like that. I've cited the feed before. It was a British television show, aired some years ago, in which everybody was basically wireheads. The cell phone didn't exist anymore. You had an implant. And so instead of having a screen, you could just see. You had a readout that reflected in your eyes. You thought you could see it, is a better way to say it. You could hear, you could see. You didn't need to carry a phone around. And people just have it on all the time. And younger people are more affected by it because they grew up with this thing on all the time. So if there's a disruption in the feed, they fall out, they have seizures, or they throw a tantrum, they can't function. Armored Ghost says, does Skynet know what a woman is? Yeah. Trust me, those people know what the difference is between a man and a woman. It's all an act. They pretend. But that's something that should not have happened. That's something that should not have happened. It should have been done in sections. They should have been more careful about it. It's foolhardy to have all of that on the same platform. And this is what you get for outsourcing all over the place instead of handling it yourself. But people don't want the liability. And they want to pretend that it's cheaper to outsource. Is it in the long run? I beg to differ. I don't think it is. I don't think that it is. All people says people of the third, second world are actually more dependent on their cell phones than found in any Western nation. They do everything through their cell phones. They do have phones there. Once upon a time, that wasn't a thing. Now everybody's got a phone. Hell, homeless people have phones. Everybody's got a damn phone now. Especially, and again, like all people pointed out, including in second and third world nations. Everybody's got a freaking cell phone. They're all carrying a cell phone now. Oh, also, I apologize if there's any interruption. Somebody brought it to my attention. They sent me a message this morning. They said, go back and look at, for the last couple of days, look at the videos. The videos that are up on YouTube, ScrewTube. that there's a skip. There's a skipping that a timed skip where the sound it drops for like a millisecond, spot, 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 like that. And that they thought maybe I had a problem with my internet connection. So I tested every once in a while anyway. So I ran the test again, and my upload speed is just over 40%, of which to do a 4K upload, which is what this is supposed to be right now, you need about 25 MPS. I'm at 40 and a half to 41 MPS. Plus, I'm Ethernet connected. I don't use wireless. So the problem is on ScrewTube's end, and it doesn't surprise me with the amount of trouble that they've caused me this week and the amount of issues that I've had. Brian says at least they can say they know what it's like. They didn't have their own cell phone until they were like 16. One thing their parents did right, yeah. My boy didn't have one until he was 15 years old. Rock Valley said just went to Wally World to get a map or atlas. Nothing. No, you'll have to get one online. Or they might have some local stuff at the library that you can, usually at the library sometimes you can find like trail and hiking maps of the local area, which can be helpful. But otherwise, you're going to have to go online now. You're not going to a gas station or a bookstore or Walmart or someplace and picking up a map anymore. You might find an atlas at the bookstore. But yeah, that used to be a thing. Now it's not. Now it's not, Rock Valley. But yeah, if people are watching the replay of the live stream on ScrewTube and there's skipping, that's them playing games with me again. I'm sorry about that. It's not because this is a 4K camera and microphone, a separate microphone. See here, I'm not using like a 12-year-old camera here. And if I stream elsewhere, if I do a live stream like I mentioned, I can also be found on a hobby related channel. There's no problems there. And everything looks and sounds great every time. It's just here that they kick the crap out of me. But moving on, now that this is, I think, wrapped up, correct? The RNC. And I did watch part of this. Here's the spin trying to pretend like it was a failure. Newsweek article, Donald Trump's rambling speech gives Democrats hope again. And they've made fun of his bandage too. And I'll point out the oversized bandage, and everybody's like, oh, that's just for effect. And, it's an ear wound. They bleed pretty bad, and it could open up and seep. Because I asked my wife about it too. Remember, my wife with 21 years in the Army as a medic. And she was like, yeah, that thing will bleed bad if it starts to spot. So that's probably why they made it that size. And they also made fun of, and I've seen this, there's a picture circulating of 3 people sitting in the audience somewhere, and they've got a patch on their ear. I guess having solidarity or whatever they thought. And the caption on the meme reads, "This is what a cult looks like." And I'm like, yeah, says the people that wore a mask for 2 years because they really believed it works and still have them on, even though Fauci admitted that they just made it up and they have no idea if it worked or not. I love it. But yeah, like 3 people did that in the audience. Look at the images. But it's kind of silly, but people are dumb anyway. What difference does that make? But I watched this and I heard his speech, and he was coherent. He wasn't rambling. Did anyone else watch any of this? I'll read the article and I'll get back to it. Donald Trump formally accepted the 2024 Republican presidential nomination with a rambling speech lasting over 90 minutes, and it's given hope to key Democrat Party figures. The former president's address on Thursday at the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee was the longest delivered under such circumstances in modern history, and it came in for fierce criticism online for its length and meandering nature, with a number of prominent Democrats saying it could revitalize their party after a disastrous past few weeks. Again, I watched this speech. The reason it ran longer is because at the beginning he said he wanted to address the elephant in the room. I'm going to talk about what happened Saturday and get it out of the way, and then I'm not going to bring it up again, which he did not. And that's what you do. Something happened. Let me take 15, 20 minutes to knock it out. I'll describe everything that happened, and then we'll hang it up and go on. That's what made it longer. I don't think he was meandering or, he was focused. He knew what he was talking about. He could have a little salty, sarcastic humor at times, but that's how he is. I don't have a problem with that. I thought it went pretty well, actually, from what I saw. But this is the spin. This is the spin. This is what they like to do. They want to pretend, because you know what it is. Most people aren't going to watch it. So Newsweek will tell you, and other news agencies will tell you, oh, it just went on, and he didn't know what he was talking about, and he took so long, and you'll believe it because, or maybe not you specifically, but people will believe it because they're not going to bother to look for themselves, or they just want to believe that. They just want to believe that. He didn't do bad. He really didn't. Did a hell of a lot better than his competition, I'll tell you that. A hell of a lot better than his competition. I mean, you know how it is. They're going to criticize everything that he does. They've been laying into him for almost 8 years now. And the funny thing is, they all loved him. They all lined up on their knees to kiss this man's ass prior to his running for president. You notice this? How much they suck up to him? Watch any vintage television, and you'll be surprised how often he comes up. My wife and I watch vintage game shows, even game shows from the 80s. He's often the subject of one of the responses, one of the answers to a question. That would be Donald Trump, correct? They loved him, and they would kiss his ass. Everybody except for Rosie O'Donnell, for whatever reason. Rosie O'Donnell always hated him. Everyone else, they kissed his ass nonstop. Rock Valley says he did notice that he didn't demean Democratic voters as Democrats do to Republican voters. That's right. I don't think he did either. Sven said that is a bandage that's specifically made to hide any seepage or weeping or on any extremity. There are different sizes. The fact that the news can't figure this out does not surprise me. Oh, they know. They're just counting on the fact that most other people wouldn't. Again, I say it all the time. People are not that smart. And there are people in the media, there are politicians, there are activists whose job it is to exploit that. And Sven's right. That's the type of bandage. And like I said, my wife has experience. And so I asked her, I was like, that's to keep it from leaking through, correct? And she was like, yeah, that's what that's for. That's why it looks like that. But again, they're counting on the fact that people are not that smart and lazy. So they're not going to go and look for themselves. They're not going to research anything. They're not going to look anything up, which leads me to this. Leads me to this next one. Oh, this is also a Newsweek article, strangely enough. You all remember Hulk Hogan showing up at the DNC, or it's not DNC, excuse me, RNC, Republican National Convention. There's Hogan. Terry Bollea. And the article reads, Trump's affection towards Hulk Hogan at RNC sparks mockery. And they are making fun of this. But I'm going to, and they show part of the speech here, but they're not going to show you the part that matters. Let me try to block this ad real quick. There we go. They only show you 59 seconds of the opening of Hulk Hogan's speech. Okay. It says Donald Trump blowing a kiss at Hulk Hogan during the Republican National Convention has sparked mockery and raised eyebrows online. The wrestling icon, whose real name is Terry Gene Bollea, spoke at the Fiserv Forum in Milwaukee, Wisconsin on Thursday, praising the former president through a series of wrestling metaphors As Hogan wrapped up his speech and began to exit the stage, Trump waved at the retired wrestler before blowing him a kiss. A clip of the moment was shared on X, blah, blah, blah. And they went on and on. Now they do this thing, which is this lazy thing that I really hate, that I'm not going to bother with, is writers. And who wrote this article? Story by Sophie Lloyd. Sophie Lloyd is a lazy writer. If she's going to fill up a third of her article with quotes from other people on X and what they had to say, that's very lazy. And I've been seeing that in a lot of articles right now, and I hate that. Cyberjack Senior says they watch the RNC. Very good watch. Yeah, I saw a lot of it. I didn't think it was bad at all. It says 70-year-old also called Trump and his vice president pick J.D. Vance the greatest tag team of my life, claiming the Republican politician's going to bring America back together. Blah blah blah. They're showing the opening sequence, and I'm going to explain something. And I've seen a lot of this. This is being used as a meme where he's tearing the shirt, okay? Hogan's tearing the shirt, or Terry is tearing his shirt off in the very beginning of his speech. And the caption is idiocracy in real time. And what they're implying is, oh yeah, this is idiocracy is coming. We're already past idiocracy. The film is what they're referring to. And that is written by and meant for people who did not see this and don't know what Terry did. So if anybody missed it or they're confused, I'll break it down real quick. He came out, he did the Hulk Hogan bit for a couple of minutes, ripped his shirt off and did all that, and then he shut it off. And that is not shown here, and that is not explained in this article. Like I said, this bit shows only the very beginning and then shows where he tore his shirt. Right there. This is the clip the article chose because they want to make this look stupid. So he does this bit, and then he says, okay. And he says, I'm not really here to be Hulk Hogan. And I'm paraphrasing because I don't have like the transcript in front of me. I'm not really here to be Hulk Hogan. My real name is Terry Bollea. And I'm an entertainer. And so I gave the people what they expected. And now, basically, let's move on. And he went on to talk about what he felt the direction of the country was going in, and brought up that he usually tries to stay the hell away from politics, which I don't recall really seeing him involved much in any politics. Does anybody else? If they wanted to chime in there, I don't think I've ever seen him really stick his nose into anything. But the most political I've ever seen him was when he was called up before Congress about these steroid accusations against the WWF. And then he wouldn't talk. He refused to say anything against Vince McMahon at that time. But so he went out there, did his act, because that's what everybody expects. And then he says, okay, I'm done, and I'm going to put that away, and now let's just talk for real. I'm not Hulk Hogan right now. I'm Terry Bollea, and this is what I think. I understand that. That makes sense to me. And 2 points about that. One, Hulk Hogan is iconic, whether you like him or not, because some people don't like him. That's fine. He's iconic. He's been doing this for decades. He's been doing this since the 70s. A lot of people don't realize he was wrestling since the 70s. He just didn't blow up until the 80s. In the 70s, him and Andre the Giant were running around in New Japan Wrestling. So he's been doing this forever. He's been doing this for more than 40 years, easily, since the 1970s, close to 50 years. He gave the people what they expected, what they wanted, and then he moved on. And I can understand that. So one, he's iconic, whether they like it or not. Two, I would rather see Hulk Hogan than any Democrat roll out another raunchy, nasty, foul-mouthed wannabe rapper. I am so tired of that. I am so tired of that. Some rapper that nobody knows who the hell they are or cares who the hell they are, that when you look up their lyrics, you feel like you're going to be sick. Whose entire career is based on how tight they can pull the thong up their butt. People who are supposed to be huge, like Sexy Red, and then you find out that they can't even fill a concert hall because they're talking about they may have to cancel her thing out here in Atlanta because they can't fill the seats up enough. And the tickets aren't expensive. They're like $30 or something. Nobody cares about these people. Cyberjack Sr. says they have no memory of Hulk Hogan speaking of or to anything political. Yeah, that's what I figured. And Baki says Undertaker is better. My wife likes The Undertaker. But I'd rather see Hogan go up there, do his bit, and they say, okay, that's enough. I gave you what you expected. Now let's talk. I'd rather see him, someone who really is iconic, than another just raunchy, nasty wannabe rapper or so-called hip-hop artist. I hate how everybody's an artist now. No, they're not. They are performers. They are not artists. Everybody's not an artist. You know what's funny about this? The more we move away from actors and musicians having talent, the more they want to be called artists. You ever notice that? Once upon a time, actors, look at all these old school actors. They could sing, they could dance, they could speak multiple languages, they could do comedy, they could do drama, they could do theater. Now they have a blank expression. They can remember the lines, and that's enough. And these musical performers, they auto-tune the life out of everything, and they sing the nastiest, raunchiest garbage you ever heard in your life. I'm an artist. They're performers, and they're not even good. Urban Angst has joined us. Glad you could make it today, Urban. But I thought I thought the whole thing looked pretty good. I thought the whole thing looked pretty good. And before I open this, an article from The Independent coming up, I wanted to address the rumors. There's rumors that Biden quit. And that came from News Nation. I think News Nation put that article out really early this morning, and they put it on X. Insider says that Biden has given up and that he's making it an open ticket and refuses to back Kamala Harris. And News Nation put that out on X this morning. I think it was News Nation. I could be wrong. And now there's been an official report from the White House that's not true. He's not backing out. And one thing that a lot of people have not thought of is that technically he really can't unless he dies, because he's already on the ticket. So if he bows out, if anyone else picks up that nomination, there are several states that will not change that ballot because their individual state law doesn't allow for it. So unless the candidate dies, they can't replace him in a lot of states. I don't know how many, but I know I read that. Nature Nerd says crime raps, why are they so popular? Because it fits the culture. It's become socially acceptable within the culture that generates that kind of music. So it's all crime and sex, crime and sex, crime and sex. And then they complain about their situation, but the culture permeates it. And Brian would rather listen to nails on a chalkboard than so-called artists. Yeah. But that's what's been circulating, is that he quit. And now they're saying that's not true. And AOC chimed in on this, and that's where the Independent article comes from. AOC goes live on Instagram saying many who want Biden to drop out of race also want to remove Kamala. And there she is. She always looks like she's shocked. She looks like she was sneaking into the refrigerator at 2 a.m. and somebody turned the kitchen light on. So New York Representative Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez went on Instagram Live early on Friday morning to share her thoughts on Biden's floundering re-election campaign. Oh, I thought there was hope now because the RNC was so bad. And warning that many of those who want the president to drop out of the race also want Vice President Kamala Harris off the ticket too. That's because they know they can't run her. People like her almost less than they like Biden. It would fail. It would fail. The only way they could get it to work is if they replaced her as well. She wouldn't even work as a vice president. It says, if you think that there is consensus among the people who want Biden to leave that they will support Vice President Harris, you would be mistaken. She slammed her colleagues for giving anonymous quotes to the press, calling it bull, and argued those resigned to a loss to Donald Trump to give up their seats. Yeah, all of you just quit. That's a good idea, actually. I like that, AOC. Thank you. I think they should all just quit. Quote, my community does not have the option to lose, she said. What is your community? What is your community? Since you're hardly ever in New York and you sure as hell aren't representing them, you're running all over the country whining about everything everyone else is doing and picking fights with other representatives in other states and having pissing matches with them so that you can blow up on Instagram. What is your community doing? I'm curious. Quote again, if they're going to come out and say all their little things on background off the record, but they're not going to be fully honest, I'm going to be honest for them. I'm in these rooms. I see what they say in conversations, the Congresswoman said. Quote, a lot of them are not just interested in removing the president, they're interested in removing the whole ticket. I hope she's on that ticket too, because I'm about done with this whole squad. Baki says she's cute but crazy. You think she's cute. Remember, that's all makeup. Okay? That's all makeup. She's wearing a mask. You don't know what's under that. Everybody looks cute with a 1/4 inch of foundation. Frost up their face like a damn cake. Oh my God. And then here is, oh, we're going to do this again. Let me skip the ad and I'll show you the video clip. I won't play the audio, but I'll show you the video clip really quick. This is this morning. This clip is from this morning. That is Air Force One. And that is Biden getting off. Or trying to. There ought to be someone walking in front of him in case he stumbles. Second step, and he stops for like an hour. Come on, Biden, you can make it. There's another step. And he stops again. You notice that? He stops every 2 steps and he stands there and looks around. 1, 2. Oh, there's 3. Okay, never mind. He's moving now. He's moving now. But, oh my God. But yeah, there he goes. There he goes. Sleepy Joe. He's still alive. I know a lot of you thought that somebody did him in. Dragon says, seems like 2016 all over again, infighting over the candidate, which contributes to an eventual loss. You'd think lessons would have been learned, but apparently not. Nature Nerd says AOC may be in Congress for decades, then she'll be an old House Speaker like Nancy Pelosi as America gets worse and worse. Wow, you're trying to terrify us? And Cyberjack Sr. says, like visitors from V, the TV show. V, the original miniseries. Because there's 3. No, there's 4. There's 4. The first one is the original miniseries, which was brilliantly written. The second one was an accessory or a follow-up miniseries that piggybacked the first. It was okay, but it wasn't as good as the original. Then there was the TV series that lasted one season that was awful. It was badly written. It was all over the place. It was like they didn't know what they wanted to do. And then there's the reboot of the TV series, which I did not see. Nature Nerd said, should Air Force One have an escalator or an elevator? Well, he's got to walk. I'm afraid he's going to have to walk, ladies and gentlemen. Biden is going to have to walk. He can shuffle himself down the stairs. And who wanted to see? Somebody brought this up the other day. Who wanted to see Thomas? You know who I'm talking about, right? Thomas Crooks. They said, how come there's no photos of this guy that don't look like he's 12 years old? Who said that? And who wants to see a recent photo of him, a real one? Who wants to see that? I have it pulled up on my phone. I can't get it on here. But I can hold it up real quick. Rock Valley said AOC's best drink as a bartender was probably a slippery nipple. That's how she got the job. That's how she got the job. As we shift around here, in a moment, we're going to talk about everyone's favorite mayor, Mayor Makeup, or Mayor Brandon Johnson, excuse me. Mayor Brandon Johnson, the man who has spent more on hair and makeup than any other mayor in history. Baki wants to see it. Oh, I knew somebody wanted to see it. I have it pulled up on here. Okay. You ready? And Cyber wants to see it. Yeah, I bet. And yes, that is a choker on his neck. Is that what you were expecting? Is that what it is? Is that what you were expecting? Doesn't look like he's 12 in this photo, does he? Looks a little feminine, actually. So there you go. There you go. And we'll move on to Brandon Johnson here. Yeah, like I said, I couldn't get it pulled up here, but I managed to get it on the phone. And if that's not him, it sure looks like him. Mayor Brandon Johnson. And this is a Center Square article. Center Square article. Mayor dodges loan questions and says the state owes public schools. There he is. And I can't look at this man now without thinking about the article that we read about the hair and makeup. How he has spent like tens of thousands of dollars in less than a year on haircuts and makeup treatments. And when he was confronted with it, because he's spending tax dollars, it's the mayor's fund that is paying for it. Okay? It's not like it's out of pocket. And when he was confronted with it, he accuses people of trying to keep him from helping the black community because he's frequenting black-owned businesses. That's a great cover. Article reads, Mayor Brandon Johnson is not ruling out a loan to cover a Chicago public schools deficit of $500 million. There is no official answer on how the mayor will fill the budget gap after he rejected cuts proposed by CPS administrators. And CPS, of course, Chicago Public Schools. You know, you wouldn't have that deficit if you didn't take money from them for the migrant crisis, just saying. Quote, I have not changed my mind about investing in our children. I will never change my mind, Johnson said. The mayor was asked if he would consider a long-term high-interest loan. I'm not going to tolerate cuts to our children. I'm not going to tolerate it. And so there are a number of considerations that we have to make to ensure that our children get what they deserve, Johnson answered. Yeah. Truth in Accounting reports that the city of Chicago has a debt of nearly $40 billion, which amounts to about $43,000 per taxpayer. Mayor Johnson said the state of Illinois state owes, that's bad syntax, owes the children and the families of Chicago $1.1 billion. Good, pay them back. Pay the children and the families back the money that you took from them. The mayor said the state also owes public schools outside of the city. Quote, they're going to owe the second largest school district, U46, more resources. School districts in Waukegan, Tams, Illinois, East St. Louis, all of us are going to require the state of Illinois to up its investments in our young people, Johnson said. The Illinois General Assembly passed legislation in 2017, which switched the state to evidence-based funding of schools. WirePoints reports $8.5 billion in new funding for K through 12 in Illinois since the change. According to the Illinois Policy Institute, CPS spends $29,028 per student. So that's the same as New York, nearly $30,000 in tax money per student. And Tuck says he's stopping in for likes, but he hasn't got time to listen. Well, I'm glad you could pop in, Tuck. Much appreciated. Nearly $30,000. That's my argument again. Nearly $30,000 per student. But I can find a good local private school around. Again, remember, I went through this in Kansas for half that much and get a halfway decent education for my kid. Or hell, I could homeschool and hire a tutor for something I can't do. I can homeschool and join a homeschooling ring, and they'll help me for free. $30,000 per student, and the kids are morons. Great going. And that's just not Illinois I'm picking on. It's every state going through this. It's one of the biggest money pits in the country. I'll never let up on that until they fix it, and they're not going to. You want to know why there's a $500 million deficit in the Chicago public school? And that's just the city of Chicago, not the rest of Illinois. Mismanagement and misuse of funds. You took tax money from people, you wasted it, and that you have no accountability whatsoever. And you're going to cry that you just need more money, because that's what they always do. And that's why I hate that so much. That's why it's such a big pet peeve of mine. What's the answer? More money. We need more money. We need more money. We need, and how are they going to get it? Unlimited resource. They're going to tax you more. And then they're going to bamboozle people by claiming, oh, well, we're going to tax the rich and make them pay their fair share. I'm so sick and tired of hearing that. How much is their fair share? No matter what changes, the average wage earner is the one that's going to take the brunt of that, because they outnumber everyone else. I don't care how many wealthy people there are. There's only so much you can actually take from them. It's not going to make a difference. What makes the difference is when you've got a large number of people that give a small amount is worth more in tax money than a small amount of people that pay a lot. That's just simple averages. But, most people could figure that out if they actually learned math in school or had any common sense. Shane says they need more money, and how are they going to get it? Yeah, by force, because you have and that's where the misappropriation comes in. It's the 3 M's: misappropriation, misuse, and mishandling of funds. The misappropriation, they took it from you. They took it from you by force. You have no choice. I hear that all the time. Oh, you need to stop paying taxes. How? You explain. Comes right out of your check, doesn't it? How are you going to do it? Can't be done. And Nature Nerd says, hard to believe it's $30,000 per student. Surely the teachers are only get a fraction of that. I don't believe it costs that much to maintain the poorly built school buildings, sometimes in portables. And Brian says tax dollars also going to useless members of society, which pisses me off. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. And those teachers, Nature Nerd, they don't get paid as badly as they let on. It's not a bad salary at all. It really isn't. It's typically a fairly solid middle-class wage in most places. Look it up. The statistics are all online for how much a teacher makes in each state. It's not that bad at all. So, just for the here we go. Just for the sake of argument, to make my point, I'll share this real quick because I know a lot about that. I did a paper on it years ago. There's your average starting salary right there. For the city of Chicago, $67,944. Doesn't look like a bad salary to me for a public school teacher. Yeah, sure, it's a shitty job. But like Super Chicken used to say, you knew the job was dangerous when you took it. You know exactly what you're getting yourself into. You know what the pay is. You know what the job involves. You took it. That's not a bad salary. Not at all. And Nature Nerd says you still have to pay for subsidized lunch food also. Yeah, and again, it was cheaper when they were doing it themselves, but they don't want the liability, so they outsource. Plus, that's a good way to grease palms behind closed doors. Yeah, we'll get you this sweet little contract, you know what I'm saying? That's how that works. That's how that works. But again, like I said, big pet peeve of mine. Because I've seen private schools where teachers make less, where they have fewer resources, where the tuition is less, and they're successful. They're successful. They do much better. Why is that? And Urban says, I don't understand why teachers are even put into these positions. Where is law enforcement in all of this? I have no idea. Oh, latest excuse on last Saturday's event, and this is an independent article. Now they say whistleblowers reported limited resources for Secret Service before Trump's shooting. So Secret Service was grappling with limited resources ahead of the assassination attempt on Trump at a campaign rally last Saturday. Republican lawmaker Jim Jordan has claimed law enforcement and congressional investigations are underway into potential lapses in the former president's security detail. You remember yesterday the excuse was that a tree was in the way, had the audacity to grow there. The incident last Saturday left 2 people, including the gunman, dead. Spectator Corey Comparator, 50, a former fire chief, died after shielding his family. And 2 other people were seriously injured. They're fine, by the way. And Trump talked about them at the RNC at length. On Thursday, Health Judiciary Committee Chair Jim Jordan wrote in a letter to FBI Director Christopher Wray that he had received information from whistleblowers that on a July 8th briefing in which a Secret Service agent allegedly told law enforcement partners that security service was facing limited resources as its teams were spread out across marquee events, including the recent NATO summit in Washington. Jordan's allegations did not specify whether limited resources had any impact on staffing or plans ahead of the rally. So Secret Service spokesman Anthony Guglielmi, if I pronounce that correctly, has pushed back on theories that the agency could have done more in the lead up to the attempt. Guglielmi said that the claims that the Secret Service rebuffed a request from the Trump team for additional security were untrue, and theories that the event for First Lady Jill Biden diverted resources were very wrong. Well, they're not going to admit it. But now this is coming out. And Urban says limited resources for competitive applicants, unlimited resources for DEI plants. Yeah. And here's Raccoon. Says better late than never, indeed. And the warden says it's now being reported by whistleblowers that the female agents weren't Secret Service agents. So who the hell were they then? Because you didn't see one at the RNC rally, did you? I don't think I saw any female security. Who the hell were they then? I haven't seen that one yet, Warden. And Cyberjack Senior says they just couldn't foot the bill for extra long lengths of fishing line for the high-tech tin can listening devices. Is that what it is? They cut corners somewhere. They had a cover for Jill. Someone might try to kidnap her. And then who's going to take care of Sleepy Joe? What'll happen? Who's going to take care of him? Are you going to clean him up? Urban says Charlie's agents. Hardly. The Charlie's Angels were not hard on the eye. These girls were hard on everything else. Oh, and there's John. John has joined us. Glad you could make it today. They were hard on everything else. They were not. They didn't look like they knew what they were doing, and they were too short. Because you should be at least an even height with your client, because in that type of a situation, you're acting literally as a human shield. And Warden says they were from the Department of Homeland Security Investigation Department. Oh, is that would explain why they were shaped like that? Because they looked like Meal Team 6. If you've ever noticed, there's a stereotype about detectives and investigators in law enforcement that they're all kind of chubby. Everyone I've ever seen has been overweight or obese. You ever notice that? Because they looked out of shape and they looked confused. And like I showed in detail yesterday in the one video clip of that one agent that everybody's making fun of, she could not reholster her weapon, remember? She kept, and I pointed out what she was doing was trying to holster it into where her badge was. And that's why she was making a mistake. And there's Fluke Man joining us. And Warden says the memo has been sent out and it's starting to go viral. If I find that story, I'll have to try to throw it up on Monday. When we come back on Monday. Raccoon says Amazon gave them notice packages are on the way. Oh, be on the lookout. Thank you. And Raccoon is talking about the wish list for the felines. Again, we act as like an auxiliary shelter, and we take care of like lost, abandoned, and injured cats primarily. Get a dog every once in a while, but mostly felines. And you see little girl sleeping in the chair back there. That's her name. And the Amazon wish list, and I'll throw it back up here again because people asked if anyone wanted to send any supplies to help them out. Urban says, I'm surprised Trump doesn't have his own private security as a backup. He has enough money for world-class protection. I think that would be a conflict of interest with Secret Service assignment. I'm not sure if you can do that. I'm not sure if you can do that at the same time. And, we don't know if he might have. He might have had his own security around, too. That I'm not sure about. Fluke Man says on the upside, the shorter you are, the more stealthy you can be. Yeah. That donut stealth. Time to make the donuts. Who remembers that? Time to make the donuts. What was that guy's name? I can't remember. He did that commercial for decades. It's time to make the donuts. Oh my God. Oh my God. The DEI Hero Award of the Year goes to stupid news of the day. Stupid news of the day. And they're trying to make it sound like this is such a big deal. And I couldn't resist pulling. Is this a Daily Mail article, I want to say? We'll find out here in a second as it rolls up. Yeah, no, it's not Daily Mail. It is World Matrix News. Disney changes the name of a beloved bear, which is a blow to DeSantis's culture crusade. Oh, God, it's about time someone put him in his place. In Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis' campaign against what he considers woke ideas has hit significant obstacles. His efforts to reshape how Floridians view and teach issues involving race and gender identity have faced strong resistance from the courts. Okay, now this article is basically a fluff piece, and they're making it sound like Disney stuck their thumb in DeSantis' eye by changing the name of a beloved bear. And the article drones on and on, but I'm going to get to the point here, and I'm going to show you what they actually did, because this is the stupidest thing that no one cares about. Okay? This is the bear. Can you see the image? For those of you who can't, it's the Country Bear Jamboree automatons in the theme park. It says one of the, and these bears actually have names. All right. These bears actually have names. And the one bear is named Liver Lips McGrowl. Okay? Liver Lips McGrowl. And Urban says it was Michael Vale as Fred the Baker for Dunkin' Donuts. Thank you, Urban. Cyberjack says he remembers Mr. Whipple. Yeah, don't squeeze the Charmin. That's right. And Mr. Whipple had an arch nemesis who allowed people to squeeze the Charmin in his store that was directly across the street. Who remembers the arch nemesis? But Liver Lips McGrowl, who is supposed to be a country bear, okay, this is what he looks like. There's before and after. Liver Lips McGrowl. So they made him skinnier and blonde and dressed him like Elvis. It says Liver Lips McGrowl has been replaced by Romeo McGrowl, a new animatronic bear with a blonde coif who joins returning characters in the revamped Country Bear musical jamboree. The change is part of a broader trend within Disney parks to address and rectify outdated or offensive elements. It says that it takes a jab at DeSantis's anti-woke culture by removing a bear that stereotyped Black or Jewish people. It's an animatronic bear. Does he look Black or Jewish to you? Anybody? I'm just asking. I'm just asking. Dragon says everything they've been doing recently has been a downgrade. Splash Mountain, Country Bears, shooting range. What'll be next on the chopping block? Don't ask. They already destroyed Star Wars and Marvel. Cyberjack says he's seen the Country Bear Jamboree but never knew they had names. And Brian made a donation to the channel. Thank you, Brian. Always appreciated. He says meow. Indeed. Well, the cats appreciate it. Helter says the old bears are classic. They can't do the original songs made just for the Bear Show. Recycling songs from IPs is getting old. And Urban says he's waiting for Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse to go full, transmogrified. And Cyberjack Senior says that'll fix everything. Yeah, it will, won't it? That changes everything. It's a bear. It looks like a freaking bear. I never looked at that and said, "Ha ha, they're making fun of Black people." I never thought that. Oh, they're making fun of Jewish people. I never thought that. Never thought that. Liver Lips McGrowl. His name is McGrowl. He's a bear. And this is, oh, we'll show you, DeSantis. We're going to take an obscure character that nobody knows it even has a name and change it. That'll show you. Prime Mover wants a kitty show and tell. Who have I got? Daniel, you want to be on camera, honey? Come here, Daniel. Okay. Here's Daniel. Say hi, Daniel. Daniel doesn't want to be on camera. It's all right, buddy. I'll put you back down in a second. That's Daniel, everybody. Dusty's brother. He's a sweetheart. He really is. Here you go. You can sit back down. As we go ahead and get ready to start wrapping things up, it's a bear. It's an animatronic bear. I can't get over that. But that'll show DeSantis. That'll fix everything. It's so stupid. I'll show you. You cry your little rainbow tears. Oh my God. Anyways, thank you everybody for joining us here today. Special thanks to Brian for making a donation to the channel. Always helpful, always appreciated. All the help we can get taking care of all these felines until we can get some more of them adopted. Little girl's ready. She's waiting for a good home right now. So, and thanks again to everyone else who was able to join us. Again, you're listening to and or watching Coffee Talk, and you can find us on at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University on YouTube, and at Coffee Talk Chat on X, and fistfulofradio.com, as long as they let me, and we talked about that at length yesterday, because they've been giving me a real hard time, ScrewTube. So thank you everyone else who was able to join us here today. Hope you got something out of the conversation, and we will see you again Monday.